Rise and join us in saying the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just want to make sure everyone's got a seat. You're okay? Okay.
He's a bouncer. Bruce the bouncer.
Okay, Dr. Ballmer, preview the agenda.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, you have the agenda in front of you. I believe everything is accurate and up to date. We did have an additional resignation this afternoon. I believe Katie added that to the list. And then Kim will have an announcement about Service River campus graduation. I'm going to say that now because otherwise I will forget at the end of the meeting. So, okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. We'll go right into number 4, special reports. Safety committee report. Sounds like you have a committee here today.
We have a committee here today, and there a lot of them are here. If you're on the safety committee, please stand up. All right. And we have a presentation here to go through with you. I'm just going to give a little introduction, and then I'll turn it over to Heather, who I think is going to be the spokesperson, and I hope the members of the committee feel free to add in. As you know, the safety committee was formed as a result of last year's negotiations. The committee has agreed to meet monthly and to work on a lot of different things. We set up our meetings, and we realized early in that safety is way bigger than what we thought it was going to be. So as we moved through and we began talking, we really tried to prioritize what the biggest concerns were. The first concern that the committee wanted to address was the issue of reporting. How do we report incidences that happen in the classroom, not just incidences that involve injury, but behavior type of things, and how we move forward on that. So we set up 4 different committees, well actually 5 different committees. One involves restraint and seclusion, and that's a 1-person committee, that's Heather. But that involves, we're going to be doing some work through the legislature on that because there's a study that's going to be done through the Department of Public Instruction. We had a group that looked at the behavior incident reporting and how could we be more efficient and effective in the process of gathering that information. The members of that subcommittee were Brian Offler, Sarah Gillis, Heather Offland, and Christy Ranke. We had an injury report subcommittee. Right now, we have to report everything to WSI. If we make that report within a 24-hour period, we get a deduction on our initial cost or our deductible on that, essentially. So that committee did make some slight recommended changes, but in general, that form stays about the same. That's Katie Dahl, Alicia Gessler, and Bruce Schoenberger. The alternatives to suspension and expulsion committee, that was kind of what I like to call the dream committee, not because they were so awesome, but they were, but it had to do with looking forward, what kind of things might we try to address as time goes on in dealing with really tough behaviors in classrooms. And then we had a group, that was Brian Offler, Jen Burdick, and myself. Professional Development Committee and Fidelity of Implementation. We spent a lot of time talking about how do we make sure if we have a form that everybody knows what needs to go on the form, that it's done correctly and it's done on a regular basis. So that was Denby, McNally, Dale Root, and Travis Smith. So our primary focus this year, and what we want to talk with you about tonight, is the idea of incident reporting. And the committee met again on Wednesday morning. A lot of great discussion. We think we have a really good product, and that's the last 2 pages of your handout. And Heather, I'll turn it over to you and any members of the committee that wish to speak.
So the group of us that met to talk about this form, we looked at some forms from some outside districts and then some separate forms that special ed has used in the past just to report different behaviors in these forms. And we kind of took all those different options and went through and tried to decide what are the most important things that we would want information and data on when a staff member does feel that their safety has been compromised in the classroom or in the school setting. And so our group came up with information and then met as a whole group, and we tweaked it again a second time. So this form here includes all of that information. And so we tried to put it in a format on paper right now, just to give the information out, but we had a lot of discussion about, hopefully getting the form in some type of an electronic version of possibly Google Forms or something that it could be just all the data then can be just automatically, it'll go right into a spreadsheet so that we can use that then to make informed decisions for students and staff in buildings, in classrooms. And it will give it to us all in one place where we can easily sort through things and provide for people what they need in those types of situations. So, I mean, we took a lot of time talking about the really important things that would be included in that. So I don't know if you have questions about any of the stuff. Then, teachers too really want to make sure, and we all want to make sure that it's that if someone does feel as though their safety has been compromised, that they're supported and that it's being reviewed by the proper people too, and that the proper people are informed of what's happening in the buildings. So just having that conversation too among the group, who does need to know when these things happen? When does it need to go to the next level? And how will teachers know then that took place? So just making sure that we had all of that included.
Board, how are we doing here? Any questions of Heather? Dr. Bowman?
I don't have questions, but I was part of the committee, and it was very interesting to me to sit in and listen to a little more of what goes on and what they go through. And I thought it was just going to be an easy fix, and it's taken a long time. But it's good. This is great, and there was a lot to learn and go through. And so thank you to everybody that was on the committee, because it was eye-opening to me.
My understanding has been a commitment where you're meeting once a month or so, and plan on continuing to meet, which I think is good as things need to evolve if they do, and so we have a constant ongoing education and process where incidents can be dealt with and procedures dealt with.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr.
Question
Lyman.
for Heather and other board members. What did you find when you did some of your research with other large districts across the state? What are they doing that we're not? What are they doing that we are now asking to be done? What do you hear from others?
The two larger districts that we spoke to the most were Bismarck and West Fargo. And this form, we did West Fargo, well, both Bismarck and West Fargo are using 3 separate forms. One to report restraint seclusion, one to report incidents, and one to report injuries, which is kind of the path that we're trying to go down also now. The information, some of the information on this incident form that we agreed to as a whole group was some of the stuff that West Fargo was using. What we learned from them, West Fargo's truck, I think, they also said want to be electronic. They're using paper right now. Both districts said it's been difficult to find the right forms to get the information that they're looking for. So they've gone through a couple different prototypes and they were willing to share that with us. So that was kind of how we started with ours. I don't know, Dr. Bowman.
One of the schools had done, they tried to do a marriage between the WSI injury form and the behavior form or the incident form. It turned out to be a dismal failure because if you're going to do an online reporting system, in order to meet that deductible requirement from WSI, we need to be within a 24-hour window. Not that you can't do it later, Mark, but they had a lot of problems and they were kind of missing things because people were submitting the form thinking that it was, they were doing the workforce safety form and they weren't. So the other issue with it is, and I think this is an issue in every school district that I've talked to on this matter, is that there's a difference between an injury form and an incident form. And the biggest issue with that is that we have people that maybe they'll fill out an injury form, but there's no injury. But then how do we ensure that that's getting into the hands of people that need to see the information? And, at the end of the day, this information comes together to help teachers have a more positive classroom environment and to get kids the help that they need after we look at the data. And we can use this data to compare a lot of things. So after this, the principals will look at this, because one of the things that we were concerned about was duplicity. We don't want teachers having to fill out 3 or 4 different things in order to, get something done, or to have, an action take place. But we also want to make sure that it fits in with our MTSS work and, in our building. So the MTSS district committee will look at this as well. So the idea is, at the end of the day, how can we have the best form that we can have? And if we can do it online, we'll do it online. If we're not comfortable with that, we might have to start doing paper copies. It'll depend on when we get everything done, then we'll elicit the help of our tech department to talk about options for reporting.
Mr. President, another question for that.
Yes, Mr. Lyman.
The teachers, paraprofessionals, the special education teachers, they were very supportive of this. I heard you say our full committee agreed on this.
Yeah, so, and there's a paraprofessional, there's a special ed teacher, regular ed teachers, so custodian, so we did. There's
All that,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
and
all,
yes,
okay, they all liked it.
And we had one of the discussions is like, for example, with the custodian, they might have to deal with something, they might not know the child's name in the hallway or whatever. So we talked about the big piece of this is going to be professional development when everything is said and done, to get to the principals and to the teachers to say, this is how we use the form, this is the appropriate use of the form, and how do we move this forward. So if you're a custodian, I'll pick on Bruce because he's a member of our committee. There's a disruption in the hallway, he deals with it. And like he said yesterday, it was a kid wearing the Vikings stocking hat. Well, okay, who is that? It's not his name, so it's hard to track. But, there are still times where you just need to seek the advice of or help of the principal or whatever. But in classroom type situations, when we have reoccurring incidences, that's when this form should be used. But we need to provide a little discussion so people have a clear understanding of how we do this.
Board, anything else? Anything further? Questions or comments?
You might want to see if any of the other committee members have anything they want to say. Yes, it looks like she's ready to talk.
If any other committee members do want to add anything, feel free to at this time. If not, I just like to note that the makeup of this committee is very impressive, and pretty happy to see the variety and competence of the people that were selected for this. And thank you. That's had to be a tough job. Thank you for representing the board there, Laura.
And the committee, Mr. President, did indicate we're moving this work forward. This is not a one and done. We have a lot of issues that we know we need to address. Simply reporting incidents is not going to fix any concerns we have. So this committee will continue.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, committee members.
Okay, we will move on to consent agenda. Board. Moved by Kraft, second by Lyman. Any questions or comments? Roll, please.
Yes.
Kraft?
Yes.
yes,
Lyman?
Yes.
Thompson? Yes. Item 6, old business. Item 8, consider the petition for recognition of MEA as the exclusive representative organization for negotiations for teachers.
I posted both notices, or the notice for the MEA, and not getting any feedback from it, so my recommendation that you recognize the MEA.
Move we recognize the MEA as exclusive representative organization for those negotiations.
second,
For teachers.
Okay, moved by Lyman, second by Schuler to approve. Any questions or comments? Roll, please.
Lyman?
Yes.
Mahalik?
yes,
Kraft?
Yes.
Schuler?
yes,
Crosted?
Yes. And item B, consider the petition for recognition of MEA as the exclusive representative organization for negotiations for administrators.
And again, I posted the notice, heard no feedback, disputing their claim.
also moving MAA as the exclusive representative organization for negotiations for administration.
Moved by Lyman, second by Kraft. Approved. Any questions, comments? Roll please.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes. And moving to 7, teacher report. You're already at your station, so fire away.
Mr. President, members of the board, you should have received a copy of the teacher report number 4 for the 2019-20 school year. We recommend that you approve that report as presented.
So second.
Moved by Schuler, second by Mahalik to approve. Any questions here? Comments? Roll please.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes. And I assume we want to move right into resignations.
So we have 4 here today. The first is from Stephanie Osmondson, who's requesting to resign at the conclusion of the current school year. We recommend that you approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Lyman, second by Mahalik to approve. Any comments here? Roll please.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes. Proceed.
The second resignation is from Ann Borseth, who's requesting to resign effective immediately. We recommend that you approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mahalik, second by Schuler to approve. Any questions? Roll please.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Margaret Green is requesting to resign at the conclusion of the current school year. We recommend that you approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kraft, second by Lyman to approve. Any questions here? Roll please.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
And Allison Roth is also requesting to resign at the conclusion of the current school year. We recommend that you approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Schuler, second by Mahalik to approve. Any questions here? Roll please.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes. And I assume you're completed that resignation and move into child rearing leave.
There are 2 child rearing leave requests for you today. The first is from Courtney Heilman, who's requesting child rearing leave for the 2019-20 school year. We recommend that you approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Lyman, second by Mahalik. Approve. Any comments? Roll please.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
And the second request is from Chelsea Michelson, who's requesting leave for child rearing upon exhaustion of all of her available applicable leaves through the remainder of the current school year. We recommend that you approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kraft, second by Schuler. Any comments here? Roll please.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Katie. We'll go into 2019 and 2020 adult basic MELC grant. I see Jennifer Kraft is with us.
So, Mr. President and members of the board, I'm here to ask your approval of our 1920 grant. I believe you all received a copy of that. I'm not sure if you have any questions, but if you do, I'm happy to answer them.
Board members? Okay, so they're requesting a motion to approve the grant.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kraft, second by Schuler to approve. Any questions or like to ask?
Good luck.
Okay, thank you. And we put together a little something mainly for Mrs. Schuler so that you could perhaps get a better understanding of our program. With the audience the way it is, we will move very, very quickly, okay? So we did limit it to 3 slides apiece. And I'm gonna share just a little bit of information with all of you about the program that I run. And that is the Adult Learning Center, the GED program, and the English as a Second Language program. So that program, and we'll just, so next. I had a lot to say about that slide, those colors and the thing to go along with it, blended. But what I will say is we are highly regulated by the federal and state government. We have target performance data that we need to report daily, weekly, annually to not only our state, but to the federal government as well. So data is the base of what we do every day. We are always striving to meet our target goals, and we do a very nice job of that. I did want to just kind of point out to the left part of that data, we have to have current technology, and I just kind of got a kick out of that picture on the left. So we replaced our hard drive in 2018, and just to show you, I thought that was rather interesting. From a monster in 4 years to that little thing. And this is Stan Schauer. He is our state director with the Department of Public Instruction. He monitors us. He's here in that picture. You can see him with two of our staff looking over our data. To the left, to the right, we happened to attend a training in Bismarck, took our jackets off, and there we are, all black and white, straight and narrow. So we take our data very seriously. That was my funny. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about our English as a second language class, and then I will also talk about our GED program. Our ESL, English as a second language, so we had 74 people attend, students. We have 2 instructors. Those are the countries that represent our students. We offer a citizenship class for not only our students, but also for the public. And this is Bo, one of our students, who went through the application process, went through the interview process in Fargo. It's quite a commitment. And here he is signing his certificate of naturalization. So a lot of very exciting things happening in that little building. The middle one is showing you Omar, who went through our program, attended Minot State University, and he will be attending Minot State graduation tomorrow. And so he's here sharing with our ESL class how it could be possible for them as well. And on the right is just, we do a lot of eating. Food is a lot of vocabulary. So there are a lot of potlucks, and it's really amazing. And I hope that you will all feel welcome to come to our holiday potluck, which you'll have to spread the word to Miranda. You're always invited to that. And this is just a really neat thing. I love what happened here. It's a partnership with Minot State University, their speech language graduate students. They come to our EL program 2 times a week for 2 hours, and they help our students with pronunciation. So we help with the reading, writing, speaking, listening, but to get that fine detail, they bring in models of a mouth, and they do what a speech pathologist does the best. And it is just a really, really nice partnership with Minot State University. Robin Walker is the instructor, and she oversees her students. So that's a really nice program. And then I was sitting in my office thinking, okay, how am I ever going to encompass what happens in the GED world? Because a lot happens in that world. It's a variety of people, a variety of reasons. Some are the stereotypical GED dropouts, some aren't. But this one, I was in my office, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And I hear the hoot and holler that I hear so often of somebody just passed. So there's 3 slides. The first one's going to be the hoot and holler. That's fast. The middle one is going to be one of our GED instructors was absent that day. So she needed to call her. So they FaceTimed her, and you'll get to see the excitement of her sharing with her other instructor. And then the last one, she said, if I do get my GED this year, I want to sing the national anthem at our graduation. And Mark, you'll appreciate this one. I said, you have to try out. Because we've been in a situation where I wish we would have tried out. So she did try out. She is accepted. But so we'll start. Okay. Whoops.
I don't think you're running through the speakers.
And so maybe to do that, we will just maybe
Just
not
Wes.
do that.
Can you help the sound?
Is our tech on
Wes is here.
Okay. We'll go on to the next slide while he helps with that. So our graduation is, Scott gives us permission, fall, to use his facility, and we appreciate that so much. But this is last year's graduation. We have a big celebration to recognize our EL students for the hours that they've studied, as well as the GED recipients receive a diploma. And then we have a little happy hour. So afterwards. 2 programs that a lot of people don't realize we run for these 2 different agencies. Minot Literacy Volunteers, they provide tutoring for adults in the Minot area. One of their major fundraisers is a book sale that we host for them. The second one is the Youth Transition Program, and we're the drop point for that. So Polly will come in the morning, fill the basket full of whatever needs this individual who needs help has told her that she needs. And then we are the person, because Polly has another job, Polly's the one that heads that program. So we distribute that to the people. So in that little building, there's a lot happening. We'll see if this works. If not, I'll just send it to you. It's so cool. I wish it would. That's okay. So right now she's saying, oh, you can cry. I'll try to do that. Here it is.
You can cry if you
So that's Marcy Beck. She's our math teacher.
I passed! I started running in the circles instead of dancing. I did it. I got a 152. I know. I'm so happy.
Oh, that won't last for a while. Yeah.
Take a breath. Oh, say, can you see by the clouds and the light? Was so proud.
So she passed. That'll be better. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. A lot of people get us confused. I actually oversee the community ed program as well. Katie runs it. We don't. Yeah. But community ed and adult ed are 2 different things. Adult ed is the GED, English as a second language, federal government guidelines, all that good stuff. Community ed is a program we run for you, and we just try to come out breaking even every year and having leisure activities for the public. So that's what we do for you, and Katie's going to talk to you about that. Thanks so much.
Okay. So I believe we sent over the financial summary earlier. Our total expenses, and we listed just a couple of them below, came to that total. And then what we brought in with registration fees, we're still doing the online. This is our first full year of online. We brought in $25,000. Over 25,000, and then our profit so far as of May 7th is $3,149.93. Like Jennifer said, we like to just break even, so this is awesome for us to have made a little bit of money. Some of our expenses, our salaries, obviously, community ed fees, so our supply fees for welding class. We bought some new things for our aqua fit and tone class. And then our background checks. Those are our major ones. And then our summary of the whole community ed program. This year, we have 3 sessions that we offer for community ed. We do fall, winter, and spring. Each session we offer a minimum of 20 classes, right around there. Those can be in any of those categories: arts and enrichment, career and technology, wellness, and community outreach. I listed a couple of the classes that are in each section that we offer. Our big major classes are going to be Aqua Fit and Tone and Zumba, and then the 50 at 50 plus. Those are going to bring anywhere from 25 to 35 people each session. So those are our big ones. And then our wheel from ceramics, that one usually sells out the day I release them online. And that's with Matthew Swenson. He is an instructor at Magic City campus. These are just a couple pictures of our classes. We offered a French bread making class. You can see there's 2 rosemelon classes, our ceramics class with Matthew, and then some of our participants. And then the Zumba class, I tried to get a better picture. My little guy got in the way. He really wanted to join the class. He's 2, so he didn't meet the age requirements, so he couldn't join. He was really sad. And then these are all of our thank yous, our schools that we use frequently for all of our classes. The different areas for my public schools, our board, you guys, and then the finance office is our big one. LaDon is kind of my saving grace whenever I have a question. And then obviously the community involvement, all of our instructors, and then all of our shares and likes on Facebook by all of you. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Board, any questions or comments? And for Kate.
We're lucky to have them.
Yeah.
That's part of our
One,
district.
the only complaint I'd like to make on that department was last year you had your dinner scheduled on a date I could not come. I didn't really sincerely look forward to coming to those dinners. They're pretty special. So. We'll work through that this year.
I'll schedule for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thanks for that reminder, because I'd have gone right on. Okay, call the roll, please.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Crosby.
Yes. Okay,
Jennifer, do you need a motion to approve your report as well? That you gave? It's just all
Just
part
the
of one.
grant.
Perfect,
Get that
okay.
to
I didn't know if you needed it for granting purposes. Thank you.
thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay, now we'll move on to item F, Magic City Campus Assistant Principal, Ms. Slotsky.
Yes, Magic City Campus has selected after their interview process, for their next assistant principal, Waylon Wallstrom. Can I bring that name for you?
Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Schuler, second by McCullough, to approve Waylon Wallstrom. He's a new assistant principal. Any questions or comments or?
We had a good pool of candidates, so it was a good process. We had lots of involvement by your staff at Magic City Campus. We had a committee of 9 of us, and like I said, we have good candidates. We feel really happy that Waylon Wallstrom becomes us as assistant principal.
Very good. Call the roll, please.
Kraft. Yes. Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Crosby.
Yes. Item G, professional learning coordinator position. Dr. Bowman.
Mr. President, members of the board, 2 years ago, we talked about the possibility of doing a teacher on special assignment to work professional learning. You graciously allowed that. Melissa Stanley was appointed to that position, primarily to work with Marzano and MPSS and our positive behavior interventions and support. We've had 2 very busy and very good years. We've seen a lot of growth in regard to our district initiatives. We've seen a lot of growth in regard to our academic pathways for helping struggling learners, for behavior work. We've seen excellent involvement with our new teachers, professional learning menu. I believe in the state right now that is second to none. Simply put, this is work that makes us better, and I recommend that you create officially the position of professional learning coordinator that would allow us to open up that position for applications.
Board,
So moved.
Second.
moved by Schuler, second by Kraft to approve. Any questions or comments here?
I have one comment.
Yes, Ms. Schuler.
I just want to thank everybody who sent messages and phone calls. I did not get any negative comments on this position at all. It was all positive, which means it's pretty well received. So I really appreciate that.
So we have some coordinator positions that report to assistant superintendents, some that don't. I mean, the layer of it, how are we envisioning that going forward?
I would like to see that continue to report to me I'm I'm probably the lead professional developer for the district. I do a lot of trainings on weekends, love and logic, foundations of poverty, professional learning communities class. That is my passion, professional development. I would like to see that remain in my portfolio. That being said, we all have to work together to common goals. A lot of the work that's done in this is Marzano work. And currently, Tracy leads the Marzano committee, but that work is being done, the training that is being done in that position now. Melissa is doing the training. She is a member of the Marzano committee.
I'm gonna bring up one, now with going into negotiations and we're with our budget and stuff again, and I know that this is from all of the feedback we got, it's an important position in the district, which I agree it is. But it will be a coordinator's position, so we'll go to the 10-month
It'll be coordinating position, yes.
salary, okay.
Yeah.
So coordinating position, not one.
A comment, Mr. President, too. I can find myself supporting the position here and probably most of what's on H, the staffing needs. I would like to see us, table these two items until after the executive session, just so we get a feel for the bigger picture of where we're sitting on negotiations. I mean, I know that I've got a couple different numbers in my head for what I'd like us to consider for negotiations. That obviously impacts the budget. The budget's obviously impacted if we're gonna add 8 or 10 or 12 new positions for staffing. I know there's a lot of people here probably who are in support or have an opinion on G and H. So I'd hate to put them off and say, no, I just wait until after an executive session. But I guess I'd like to amend the motion that we table these two items until after our executive session.
Do I hear a second table?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any comments further?
That would be to come out of executive session and then to vote,
Yep, and then just
not to another meeting.
right, table it to just after today.
After today.
Yeah, after today's executive session.
I will state that the items in G and H, and we're bleeding over here, right? But I mean, these are positions that we as a district feel are good for the advancement of the district. And we believe that in looking at revenue coming in from the state, that we will be in a very good position to do that.
Okay. Mr. Moan, call the roll, please.
Okay, on the amendment.
On the amendment, yeah. Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft? No. Schuler?
No.
Lyman?
Yes.
Frosted?
No. Okay, so then we move on to the motion. And who, Mr. Moan, who,
The original motion as made by Schuler and seconded by Kraft. The creation of this perfect position.
anything further, board? Call the roll, please.
Lyman?
Yes.
Mahalik?
Yes.
Kraft? Yes. Schuler?
Yes.
Frosted?
Yes. Okay, we're on to staffing needs now.
Okay, this is, I think what I'm gonna do is go through, if that's okay with everyone, and then Tracy and Kim and Heather could supply supplemental information on this. Some of it kind of bleeds from area to area. In looking at our needs for the upcoming school year, as you know, in these years that were very, very lean, we were very conservative in our processes of filling positions. And the fact that we are up considerably from the same time last year, we have more kids. We have seen some nice things that have come out of the legislative session in regard to per pupil payment, and also in regard to some deducts or imputation processes, which worked well for our district. Our financial situation is much improved. That being said, we also have needs. And the needs of the district are listed before. I brought the professional learning. I thank you for supporting that. These are the following. Elementary, we are looking at adding a teacher of the emotionally disturbed to Roosevelt Elementary, which will expand our self-contained emotionally disturbed classroom. Those are the toughest of our toughest kids in elementary. Looking at adding a teacher of the intellectually disabled at Perkett. Adding a strategist at Sunnyside. A strategist would be a person who could cover students that have both learning and behavior disabilities. We are looking at adding a third grade classroom at Holden and a third grade classroom at Longfellow. We have a big third grade, and we're looking at adding those two classrooms and an elementary counselor position. So we'll take a minute and talk about those, and Tracy can supply any additional information. I will say these were recommendations that came up through principals and discussed from that point on. So,
And are there specific questions that I can answer about the positions?
Or any questions you think?
Question, Mr. President. Tracy, will the hiring of these other teachers, the ED and ID and the strategist, will that put some downward pressure on the parents in the district? Are we able to then move, or at least feel like we don't need to be as reliant on some paras in certain situations?
And I'm going to call on Heather too. She can better
Such an awkward place here. So potentially, yes. That's a difficult question to ask or to answer because of the needs of the students. So right now, our special ed case managers just have really high numbers of caseloads. And so we use a matrix to figure out paraprofessional hours. And that's based on student need, enrollment in the building, other special education positions in that building, which was adopted 2 years ago, I believe, maybe 3. And so that has not changed in regards to additional teacher positions, because that is a separate formula than what we use for deciding special education case managers, if that makes sense.
So, right, is there a possibility that there will be a need to hire more paras?
Not at this time. I mean,
But
it's
it's
a
hard.
hard
It
question.
depends on the students that.
It does. And we've had, yes, if new students move in, based on the students that we currently have in enrollment, special ed case managers have already submitted that information, and we are in the process actually this week of contacting principals and saying, here's your allocated hours for paraprofessionals for next year. And so we've asked some principals already to cut some para positions for next year. And then if some principals have additional hours, they are then allowed to hire for next year. So.
Mr. President, if I could add to, when we look at hiring paraprofessionals, it is solely based on the minutes of need on a student's IEP. And that is the determination that moves forward. So, we have students that come to us from other places. Sometimes they have a lot of minutes. We reassess, reevaluate. Our district policy of looking at that is looking at the needs of a building and then using a matrix to help determine how many paras that equates into. So sometimes it may result in a high needs child that needs a full-time para or a 30-hour-a-week para. Sometimes it may result in a new student coming in and absolutely no change in staffing. It is probably the most impossible question to answer, other than what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Can we get a feel for how many IEP minutes we've allocated over the last couple of years? Get a feel for that raw number at some point. I don't need it now, but we had 10,000, 10 million.
I need specificity, I think, before we would, because we don't, it's an IEP team that does that. So we have to figure out how much that goes. It also depends on the number of students we have in the district. In the high school in recent years, we've seen incredibly high numbers of additions. because of some transitional homes that have opened in their community that resulted in more high needs kids coming into our community from outside areas. So we can get you what you need. I think we'll just probably should sit down and try to drill down more
Just so I can feel
specifically.
for it. That'd be nice.
Anything further on the elementary board? Well,
I have one question that's probably towards Tracy. The elementary counselor position, it's been brought to my attention, there are some elementaries that don't have full-time coverage for counselors. Would this open it up so maybe those larger schools could have, rather than sharing or leaving those schools without counselors for a period of time?
Right, and that's one of our options. We've looked at many options for how we could use this one counselor. And both of those would involve making medicine full FTE right now to go to 8. Which means that Roosevelt has 2 different counselors, 2 separate days, and one counselor one day, a separate counselor another day. We know that's not the best for children or schools, so it would help out Roosevelt. It would also help out those 2 large schools, and then we would have other options to fill the rest.
One other question.
yes, go right ahead.
The 3rd grades for Hovind and Longfellow, we have space available for those additional, that's not gonna be an issue at all?
No.
No.
Good question. Okay, we'll move on to the middle school then.
We're looking at an additional teacher of the intellectually disabled at Jim Hill, and then a self-contained ED classroom at Ramstead, which would involve a teacher of the emotionally disturbed and a social worker. And then I don't know what I think I put the other position down there in the high school. It's not. We've had a lot of discussion about a middle school assistant principal, halftime at Jim Hill and halftime at Ramstead. And Kim, you can comment on anything you'd like to add.
Sure. Just as we've looked at our numbers, I can tell you that if I compare Magic City to Jim Hill, and definitely different needs, but different needs that still need principals and counselors. I think there's 61 more students the last time I looked at Magic City than there are at Jim Hill. Magic City has a full extra assistant principal. They have a full extra counselor. And as Mike is often, tells me, we've added a lot of space with portables. We still have all those students going through a building that wasn't meant for. We were at 798 the last time I looked. We haven't hit that 800 mark yet. And that just, there are lots of needs there, and that is one thing we can do to alleviate. So my proposal would be to have a halftime person spend half their day at Jim Hill, and then adding a second self-contained classroom at Ramstead. I can't describe the amount of stress that puts on a building with those students. So there is a need there as well. Even though they are just about hitting their capacity, they're not over. They have needs in a different arena. Special needs.
Ford, anything on the middle school, Mr. Lyman?
Kim, about how many students then will we anticipate being helped or served through that self-contained PD room?
I might have to defer to Heather, but I think is there going to be 11, 12?
Between there, yeah, starting.
And those are students that follow. Those are students that would otherwise then be in the classroom that wouldn't have that.
Well, they're probably coming from self-contained at the elementary level. If they weren't there, they may be someplace else. That's one possibility.
We good to move on, board? Okay, we'll move on to high school level.
And in addition of ED SLD combination at Central Campus, when Heather was asked to look at numbers last year, we actually took a position out of Central Campus and moved into another school. It is solely based on the dictation of student enrollments, and that is why we're requesting another position there. Again, these positions, the only thing I can really say about all of them is this is right sizing. This is getting the services where we need them. They're needed positions. Tracy will attest to the fact that we have several elementary classrooms that are on the wait list. They're okay right now, but if enrollments increase, we'll be coming and talking about some additional classrooms. But the advantage of that is, of course, that, that will eventually bring in additional state funding for us. And one of the things that came out of the legislature is that in the second year of the biennium, we'll start getting on-time payment at least at 50% for some of the students. So there's an advantage with that as well. I ask for your approval of these positions. We believe that these are crucial for moving the work of the district forward, especially at the elementary and middle school level, where our numbers are big, and the stress that we see in our middle schools right now is real. So our recommendation is they're approved as presented.
Board, Mr. Kraft.
Give an estimated budget total of these positions? Somewhere between $800,000 and $900,000.
That includes health benefits, that includes the.
Will definitely impact what you're able to do with staff compensation packages with the different groups.
Mr.
Okay.
President, another quick question. I feel like it's been a couple of years now. I feel like we haven't had this in the 2 or 3 years I've been here. Is that relatively fair to say? We haven't had a need, or we had the dollars to really put towards the need?
All due respect, we've had the need, we haven't had the money.
That's what.
Yeah, I think that probably would be more accurate. way of
Probably
saying it.
added 250 students in the last 2 years.
No, we're up about, right now, we're up about 150 from the same time last year. The year before, I'd have to go back. I think it was 156 at the last. We anticipate somewhere around the 110 or 120 mark on average for the year, because we're paid average daily membership. But I think the last report, maybe Kim or Tracy remember, we run that 150 higher, I think.
I can look that up.
Okay. The year before, again, we did increase somewhat. Our numbers have gone up. The number of IEP minutes have gone up. We have more kids with more needs. But it's not only, like I said, in a perfect world, you could take 100 kids and divide them between 5 elementary classrooms and have 20 in each, and it would be perfect. But right now, the biggest stress that we feel is middle school.
Up 158 at the end of April.
And the main, I mean, out of these 11 positions, 8 of them are for the special needs, because that's. Aye. We're gonna call for the question?
I'm motion.
Still waiting.
I move, is everybody done?
Yeah, go ahead and make the motion.
I'm gonna make the motion, this is
We're
a
kind
lead,
of moving things
I'm gonna
backward.
make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Mahalik, seconded by Schuler to approve these positions. Now any further discussion? Can't have me blame you for asking if they're important questions. And, I'll go back to over the last several years, we've grown 1,500 students. And yet, we've tried to hold down our hires except where absolutely necessary. So, and I think we've been relatively conservative on adding staff because of budget concerns.
Kim and the secondary principals, they have a little bit, I don't want to say an advantage, but in the secondary ranks, you can add a 6th hour to somebody's contract, which, you can open up another classroom for an hour, but in elementary schools, the only option you have is to open up a new classroom. And those are the questions that you have tackled over the last couple of years, and class size and everything else. And it's just, the need is there, and we have to right size some of this.
Board, any further discussion or questions? Call the roll, please.
Schuler,
Yes.
Lyman,
Definitely.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Kraft. Yes. Boston.
Yes. Okay, looks like we're to announcements. Graduation.
Yeah, graduation is upon us. That doesn't seem possible. We actually have several coming up. We have Jennifer's 21st, the Adult Learning Center graduation. Kim, would you like to share information on Spruce River?
Spruce River campus graduation will be on Thursday, May 23rd at 7 o'clock in the Grand Ballroom. You are definitely invited to be part of that. They had their first one last year, went very well.
And then the big Minot High, the 26th, so we're right around the corner. I believe that Magic City has reached out to you to get information on captain rounds if you plan on attending. And we'll go from there. We also, Mr. President, have our new school liaison officer with us. If you'd stand up and introduce yourself, please.
I'm Raquel Labadie, so I'm the new school liaison officer at Minot Air Force Base. So any military connected kids. That's what Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And Sarah, anything to report, or how's your year?
Spring Fling was last night, and I think that was a success. It was cold, but they were covered in dye, and we talked about all their clothes that were wrecked, so success. Senior banquets next week, baccalaureates the third. So yes, we are.
Thank you. Okay, and it looks like we're ready to kind of clear the room for
We'll just
the.
say quickly,
Okay.
Sarah is the MEA president as of last
Oh,
week. So
I didn't know that. I thought she was pinch me.
they had the general
Oh,
assembly
welcome
and
then.
now she's in charge.
Okay, good. Okay, at this point, I think we'll kind of clear the
Yeah,
room.
we need to act, well, we need to have a motion to go into executive session.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay,
Number 2.
announcing the open portion of the meeting, the topic to be considered, which is teacher negotiations and other,
All negotiations,
all other staff negotiations. Okay,
not on the Lincoln property.
To be considered during the executive session and the legal authority for holding the executive session on the topic.
440419.1 subsection 9.
Okay. Does someone will make the motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Moved by Kraft, second by Lyman, on executive session. Call roll, please.
Kraft? Yes. Schuler?
Yes.
Lyman?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Yes.
Rossman?
Yes. Okay, we now will stop the. Yeah,
Thank you for staying.
yeah, geez.
Are we streaming again?
Yep.
The executive session's ended.
The executive session is over with and the board and our administrators discussed salary negotiations and negotiations in general with staff that will be starting before too long and gave general direction. So with that, I think we're all done and this meeting's over. Adjourned.
Thank you all very much. Okay, so.
Is there anything you need me to do with those special positions?
No, what I talked to Heather,